Hi, I'm Dr. Papa. I'm here with CEO and founder of Discover Strength, Luke Carlson, and Dr. Delray. She's Miss Fitness Minnesota, correct? And we're here to talk about some different things that probably didn't think about when it comes to fitness and especially weight loss. So, Luke, I have a question for you because your philosophy is absolutely different than most philosophy when it comes to weight loss, especially when it comes to exercise. So, what is your philosophy?
Well, interestingly enough, most of the people that are exercising with the intent to lose weight are approaching it the wrong way. Okay? Right now, across the city, we have literally thousands of people on a treadmill, on an elliptical machine for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, thinking that they're going to burn calories and therefore lose weight. What they're missing out on, and this is very clearly and consistently demonstrated in research, that people that are slaves to cardiovascular exercise in the research don't lose weight. And in fact, people that do cardio in research trials versus people that do no exercise whatsoever don't lose weight. Okay? Our philosophy is to focus on high intensity strength training that does a couple of different things. And two of those things increases resting metabolic rate. By adding some more lean muscle tissue to your body, you're a more efficient calorie burner all the time, therefore you're storing less fat. Number two, when you strength train the existing muscle tissue that you have, that tissue becomes more metabolically active. So the key is not, am I burning a ton of calories while I'm working out? The key is, am I creating a physiological stimulus during this short workout that allows me to be a more efficient calorie burner all day long, store less fat.
Right. Okay, so I think, Dr. Delray, you're his product.
Yes, for sure.
So, but the thing that amazes me the most, and I've been a believer in this for a long time, I'm not a trainer, but I read literature, and I know that it works. But you were pretty positive of that.
For sure.
You just won your competition, and the thing that you said to me was that I work out less now than I ever did, and yet you took the competition. So tell me, what are you doing? What were you doing before? What are you doing now? Because I know this is the principle, but explain it to us.
Well, I was a long distance runner in high school and in college, so I was used to running 70-mile weeks in college. I felt crappy all the time. I wasn't really lean. I was light, but not lean. I was tired all the time. And so I was introduced to Discover Strength, and I was doing 2-a-days. I was having trainers tell me to do 3 hours of cardio a day in order to get your lean muscle, lean fat down. And here I am with Luke, and I do the least amount of training that I've ever done. I've lost most of a lot of weight and body fat, which, as we know, is hard.
Where did you get your body fat down?
It's about 8.
Wow, that's tremendous. Yeah. So, okay, how much time are you talking? In other words, what are we looking? How many days a week? How much time?
From a strength training standpoint, we recommend absolutely no more than 2 workouts per week. Okay? And a lot of people can get away with 1 workout per week. Now, to understand, you have to fully understand that we're not talking about, hey, just take it easy and don't work out as often. We're saying there's a trade-off. Right. You need to work out with a much higher level of intensity.
Yeah, I just did that with him. Yeah, and it took me, what was it, 25 minutes?
Yep, exactly.
25 minutes, but if you see my arms twitching and shaking, it was from this workout.
So the trade-off is you should be working out with a much higher level of intensity. That intensity level is the stimulus for improving your muscle strength, muscle size, all the benefits that are associated with strength training and working out come from intensity. And most people don't know that. They think, well, I gotta work out more often, I gotta work out longer. Well, research doesn't say that's the key. The key is the intensity level. Well, if you do anything intensely, you can't do it for a long period of time. So your choice when you work out, you go to the gym, should be, I'm gonna work extremely hard, not for a long period of time. And that workout, again, is just a stimulus. The change happens to your body when you recover from that stimulus, and that includes not working out. So we would recommend that the client works out extremely hard for about a 30-minute period, and then spends multiple days recovering from that intense stimulus.
I agree. Rest is best. When you look at top athletes, whether it's Lance Armstrong, who's a cyclist, or someone who lifts weights or any sport, they always say the magic is in the rest.
Exactly.
And I know from reading the studies, the magic is in the rest because it's not, you have to reach a level of intensity from what I've read that it raises your growth hormone enough, and then that happens the days after. But if you work out again and again, you actually wreck that recovery.
Exactly. And our very fervor and our excitement to get better results is what's ruining our results. Because we're getting back in the gym and doing it again. It's a process. and we ignore that rest.
I want to point something out because technically, to prepare for this and win the competition, you were literally working out an hour or just over an hour a week, right? And meanwhile, there's people out there that they're on an hour on a treadmill a day. Not to mention their hours lifting, then they're out walking, and they're really going against what they want to do. So for weight loss, especially, less is better. And that's hard to put into people's head. I know, it's hard for me. Here's the question that I get a lot. So, because people think the magic is, okay, so how many reps? So let's give them a picture of this list. I know that that's what they want to do. How many reps? In other words, do I do between 6? Do I do 10 reps? Do I do 15 reps? You hear the debate in the gym. And then here's the other debate. How much do I do? Do I do heavy? Do I do light? So I think I know the answer to this question. I want to answer it.
And you're right. That is the question that everyone's asking. When I say everyone, I mean the average fitness enthusiast, experts in the field of exercise science are always talking about, well, what kind of response do you want? For big muscles, for toned muscles, what's the perfect number of reps and sets?
Right.
What it comes down to, research clearly shows this, is it doesn't matter how many reps you do. The key is, are you at the point of what we call momentary muscle failure, or momentary muscle fatigue at the end of that exercise? So when you sit down and start an exercise, most people are saying, well, on this machine, I do 15 reps. They do their 15 reps, and they stop, and they move to the next exercise.
Right. See it all the time.
Exactly. And the stimulus for that muscle to actually change, again, is the intensity. The only way we can ensure that we're applying the appropriate intensity is pushing that muscle to the point where we can't do another repetition. And that's the whole key. Now, a lot of people say, well, that sounds pretty hardcore. It's really not that hardcore. I mean, an elderly person, 92 years of age, can do the exact same thing. It's also the safest way to exercise, because when you start the exercise, the weight is relatively easy. You can handle it. By the end of the exercise, rep 10, 11, 12, 15, whatever it is, the muscle is warmed up, the joint is ready to really push hard, and the risk of injury is as low as you can get in any form of exercise.
And I just worked out with Luke, just took me through a workout, and that's what you kept saying to me. This is the most important part right here.
Exactly.
And you noticed that I was hitting failure. And you're right, the chances of getting injured at that point are much less. And when you see people pile weight on, all of a sudden they go for it.
Exactly.
When they start going for it, they're not warmed up. When your muscle's at failure, it really doesn't have the same risk injury as when you're not.
You're 100% correct. So another way to look at it is most people are doing everything they need to do when it comes to strength training, but they're missing out on the single most important part. They're changing their clothes, they're going to the gym, they're sitting down on the machine, they're doing their 10, 12, 15 reps, and just when it starts to get valuable and produce some results, that's when they stop. So they did everything except the important thing. They took 90% of the time, but they missed out on like 95% of the actual benefit.
I think it's worth pointing this out again, because you don't have to be Dr. Del Rey. You don't have to be myself. And I'm not in the shape she's in. But the point is you can be 80 years old. You just hit failure quicker. So it doesn't matter. So don't sit down and say, well, I could never go at that intensity. No, your intensity level is just different than ours.
Exactly.
So it applies to everybody.
Exactly. Whether you're 15 years old or 95.
I think that is a great point. Now, I want to bring one point. I think you can even chime in on this, because as a doctor, hormones, at least the patients that I'm treating, hormones today are playing a big part of why people can't lose weight. Matter of fact, in my estimation, about 90% of American women are in a state of hormone dysregulation. And what I always say is, the reason people can't lose weight today, despite what they eat and despite how much they exercise, is because of hormones. How does this play in with hormones? And then you can chime in with your story, because believe it or not, she couldn't lose weight, no matter how much she exercised or what you did. Because number one, you're exercising wrong, and number two, there were some other things going on. So how does this play in with hormones, and why is it so?
Well, the key is when you perform exercise at a higher intensity level, your testosterone is elevated and your growth hormone goes up. So the key again is it's not burning the calories during the exercise bout itself, but it's elevating some of those key markers over the next many days.
Yeah, okay, so in other words, and this is stuff that I've read in the literature, is that most of the time when you're on the treadmill for an hour, you may be burning fat when you're in the fat burning zone, but the problem is later you're actually burning your muscle, and a lot of that has to do with because your growth hormone works. And we know growth hormone is the anti-aging hormone. It's what makes you feel good, and also what makes you recover, your joints feel better, and all that stuff that you want. When you do this type of exercise, you actually raise your growth hormone for how long? does it
a number of days, rather than a 20-minute period following the workout.
And that's why you want to rest, because your growth hormone's up. But when you're on a treadmill, what happens to your growth hormone for a number of days? But in other words, you do an hour worth of cardio.
Decrease.
So cardio actually decreases the hormones that you need for weight loss and to feel good. And this type of training actually increases the hormones you need for weight loss and to feel good. Tell your story.
Well, I was in a state of toxicity, and it was really affecting leptin. We talked about leptin, which is a hormone that
your brain needs to burn fat for energy.
Right. So, despite diet, despite exercise, and I was doing drugs and exercise, with my diet, but it really, affected me once I started doing this. I started, increasing growth hormone, testosterone. Another thing we want to point out too when I'm done with this is, am I going to get bulky from, weight training? Because as a long distance runner, I always thought if I started weight training, I didn't want to look, muscular.
Right.
I heard the word growth hormone and testosterone, and I said, I don't want to look bulky, and I think a lot of women stay away from strength training for that reason as well. So yeah, I started changing the way that I exercise and then detoxed, and that made a huge difference with the changes in weight.
Yeah, because, Luke, I don't know how familiar you are with this, but toxins play a major role today in why people can lose weight. Toxins basically blunt these hormone receptors. So, your body doesn't recognize the hormones properly and use them. The one hormone you mentioned is leptin. Leptin is the hormone that your brain has to hear to burn your fat for energy. A lot of people, their brain cannot hear that hormone because toxins have blunted its effect. And the good thing about this type of exercise, it has a positive effect on those hormones, unlike the other exercises. So do you have any other questions for Luke? Because I think you had wrote down.
Well, the post-workout meal I wanted to talk about a little bit because I thought it was great. Up on his TV up in the workout room here, it says, what's the most important part of your workout?
Right.
And part of that is right when you're done. Everybody was asking, what to eat, what do you do for nutrition, what's the most important part of your day? It's actually after I work out with him. Is that 20-minute period?
Exactly. The key is we have a window of about 20 minutes following the workout where we need to fuel ourselves. And we always say the composition is not the key, it's the timing. So there's not a perfect snack after the workout. It should include some protein and a little bit of carbohydrate, but it's the timing that's the key.
Matters more than
exactly. Women that consume a 250-calorie snack right after their workout versus women that don't have any snack after the workout, women that are consuming that extra 250 calories are losing twice as much weight in a study, a 10-week study. So that is an interesting finding. Most people think, well, I just did my workout, I don't want to ruin my workout by eating something, when in fact, physiologically, we have this window where we should be eating and consuming something after the workout.
With that said, we better do it. We're
Yes.
going to this workout. So Luke, give your website, and maybe this will be on your...
Yeah, we're at discoverstrength.com.
And I'm drpampa.com. So
DrDelRayDetox.com.
we appreciate it. I hope you got a lot from it. I know I did. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Tom.